And the other thing that our development department had carefully charted was the recovery after 2008. And like so many low times, what happens is, of course, there's no new inventory being built.
That's a good point.
So everybody's kind of frozen, and demand starts to rebuild, and whatever surplus supply there was at the beginning of the crisis gets absorbed, and then suddenly you have a new crisis. There's a shortage of supply, right. And we could see those lines on our charts crossing in 2012. So it became a very pivotal time, and we were able to bring all of this data to our bankers and convince them that this was an opportune moment, and then we started up again. You know.
Wow. What was it looks good on paper, the pro forma looks good, but executing obviously is the next part in the process. So what was the sales and marketing process of that? I don't know what the strategy was, but what was the strategy, and how early on did it take where you're like, okay, these are being absorbed, or like we're finally getting forward here?
So we started really right off the bat once we decided to move forward. We began pre-sales, and we found a very nice office that was half a block away from the site that had the same view that people from the apartments from the new building would have. And that was really critical, and it's one of the things you do when you're building a project. Locating a sales office can often be critical in order to deliver the experience that you're trying to sell on a pre-construction basis. So we set up a great sales office, and of course you amenitize, you put in all the sort of finishes, and you make it as close to the experience that people might have in the building, so they get the feeling for it. And you begin trying to convince people to agree to buy apartments pre-construction, and then later during construction, because obviously you'd like to have as many units sold when you finally complete the building. And so that went well, and we were our sales were very strong.
Wow.
And so much so that we were able to increase prices during
the sales cycle.
During the sales cycle, which is a good thing, because what motivates people sometimes when they were in this yesterday looking at a plan, and we're legitimately a month later or 2 months later, prices change,
right? And
they see that sales are occurring, so they know the people who got in the beginning made a good deal. So I don't know how many price changes we had during the sales period over 18 months or whatever it was, but we had quite a number of them that were legitimate because we kept selling at those higher prices and sort of building the momentum.
For those pre-sales, you were taking 10% deposits or larger?
Yeah,
okay.
10%.
What was the part in the project where if you read the book, it's well documented in there, but the amount of pain and holding on to that $500 million project for a long time, paying interest over all those years. At what point did you feel like, okay, we're breathing again? Like, was it during the pre-sales, or was it until they actually closed and construction was complete? Where did you feel like, all right, hey, there might be some light here?
Well, of course, when that interim period between 2008 and 2012, we still had a loan on part of the land value and on the foundation and all the plans and that had gone into it. And I forget the amount of that loan exactly, but it was probably 30 million, 40 million. It wasn't a nickel. Yeah. And we're carrying that at, whatever the interest rate was at the time, plus the taxes. We were shelling out $3-4 million a year while we were staring at an empty a mud hole.
Yeah. It's expensive mud puddle. Yeah.
Mud hole, which, insult to injury, we even had to have guards, because it's the city requirement, making sure that nobody fell in the mud hole.
Oh,
I mean, it was
man.
all fenced in, of
Right,
course, and
yeah.
protected, but, the city has tough regulations about unbuilt sites. Anyway, so once we got into construction mode, that was a relief, because rather than it coming out of my pocket, it was coming out of the development budget that was built. It was built in to the reserves. So that was a sense of relief. But of course, if we weren't going to sell the project successfully, the banks would be knocking heavily at my door, and the kind of loan that we had required personal responsibility. So they would be knocking very loudly.
Yeah.
So the next sense of relief, of course, was when we started making those sales. And then also as part of our capital stack, we had some very pretty expensive preferred
equity.
From a major hedge fund. And so I was very much looking forward to the day when we would be able to pay them back, which of course didn't happen till the building was finished and we started closing, but we had ranked up enough sales to pay off first the first mortgage and then that preferred equity loan.
How long did it take? What was the sellout process? Like well, I guess when was it set up on like a takedown schedule where like the debt was going to be done after 70% of the units, or how did sales take care of
the
debt
debt,
and preferred equity?
as I recall on that project, the numbers are, I think the debt represented about 60% of the cost.
Okay.
Or maybe 50 or 60, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then the preferred equity probably brought it up into the 70s.
Got it.
And the rest was our own equity. But that was of the cost. Obviously, you're trying to sell for more than your
that.
cost.
Yeah.
So probably we paid off the first mortgage with 40% of the sales, or
Okay, wow.
something like that, 40 or 45%, and then another X percent to get the preferred paid off, we ended up selling about 70% of the building, and then the market slowed. And we had always had a plan that we were going to hold on to a certain number of units, because if you rent units for at least 2 years and then sell them, you get a different tax treatment than if you sell them right away. In one case, it's capital gain. In the other case, it's regular income. So that was a significant difference for us. We probably would have originally sold it up to, maybe we would have held the last 20 or 25% of the units. But somehow the market started losing steam, and we ended up at about 70. And so we just decided, okay, we'll hold there.
Okay.
And we decided to rent the units, which we did. And the rental market was, even though the condo market was running out of steam, the rental market was red hot.
Wow.
And so we got extraordinary rents for the apartments in the building, probably ranging from, for a small one bedroom, maybe $7,500 a month, all the way up to, I think the penthouse rented for $60,000 a month.
Wow.
And everything in between.
Okay.
So, and essentially, for what we've kept that inventory of apartments. We sell them occasionally when sometimes somebody we rented to wants to buy one.
Sure.
We haven't been very aggressive about our sales program. We've basically been taking the rental income, and those rents have gone up significantly
yeah.
since the beginning. And so we sell an apartment when there's somebody wants it. But mostly we've been happy to rent them.